Well, hey everybody, this is Don from Wizard Tower Games, and with me is Tom Verrill from Tabletop Taproom and Erik Tenkar from Tenkars Tavern. Welcome, gentlemen. And in today's video, we're going to talk a little bit about homebrew rules. What do we use for homebrew rules? What's our opinion of them? A little bit about what our opinion of D&D, what should be added, what shouldn't be added when it comes to homebrew rules, and basically talk about homebrew rules. So, gentlemen, thank you for coming on my humble little video here.
Okay, thanks for having us.
So, homebrew rules. Now, we all know what they are, but for those who do not know, basically what a homebrew rule is it's basically when you as the DM or you as the DM and the players change something fundamentally about the game, about a rule. Maybe you add something, maybe you take something away. So I guess to kind of start is, gentlemen, what are your opinion of homebrew rules? And we'll just kind of roll with it from here.
Go ahead, Tom.
Well, you read a rule set, and sometimes you just read a rule and you think, I don't know what this guy was thinking. The rule just strikes you as strange. It doesn't make sense to you, or it just seems awkward. And it's like, what was it in AD&D? They're famous. Everybody's famous for dissing their weapon speed.
Yeah, weapon speed.
Yeah. Or weapons versus.
There was a lot of stuff in AD&D.
Yeah. So I mean, sometimes something just, and you're like, no. You just ignore it. I think, for me, homebrew is kind of an organic thing of, it really comes down to anything in the rule set that's really slow and clunky probably needs to be changed or ignored. And I've ignored a lot of rules and still had plenty of fun playing the game.
But also the trick is, if you're going to go ahead and ignore a rule or you're going to change a rule, and I harp on this all the time, is I think one of the most vital things to do is you got to be consistent. So if you're going to ignore that rule now, 2 hours from now, when the chance comes up to use it, you got to ignore it then too. What do you guys think?
I can safely say I have consistently ignored weapon speed.
I never understood it. Honestly, I never understood weapon speed.
Yeah. And that actually might be something I'm actually going to write that down, because I want to ask Tim Kath's opinion of it. Because heck, he probably half wrote the thing. So
it's possible. I mean, weapons versus AC. It is something that it frustrated me as a gamer, because I was introduced to RPGs through AD&D, and that was part of the rules right there. And you had this whole chart, and I was like, but what if I'm fighting? Like, my players really fought other humans and demi-humans. So what is the AC of an orc? How much of the orc's AC is dex? How much of the ogre's AC is actual armor when their AC is what, 4 or 5? I mean, am I adjusting? So it didn't make sense. And then I learned decades later, it was literally cribbed from chainmail.
Yeah.
And makes a lot of sense in a game like chainmail. You're always fighting other humanoids or other demi-humans. When you're fighting dragons, when you're fighting ogres, when you're fighting giants, it gets confusing. And to only use it when you're fighting other player character types didn't make sense to me.
See, this is really interesting, because think about it this way. This is my kind of argument. The way and you mentioned dragons was a good example. Mm-hmm. Okay, you innately have certain creatures have, let's just say, really good armor classes. They're very well protected naturally.
Right.
Okay. But the thing is if a good example is, okay, you have a dragon fighting a dragon. Okay. Let's say that dragon's AC is -3, just for argument's sake. Mm-hmm. Really fundamentally is, would that dragon have an AC of -3 against another dragon? Because as a human, the dragon's AC would be by proxy naturally better because it's bigger, and although easier to hit, the ability to do damage to it would be different than a creature of its same size.
Yeah, but I mean, D&D in all its iterations has this novel concept called hit points, which when you think about it, how a fighter can go from having 8 to 80 over the course of 9 or 10 levels, and suddenly the hit points of a dragon, but they don't. For a dragon, that is its toughness to kill. For a fighter, it's I've learned how to avoid being killed. I guess.
Yeah, and I guess you got to have a metric anyways of something.
Yeah,
it has to be a baseline.
But I mean, when I was a kid, we didn't call this stuff house ruling, right? We didn't house rule. We just said this doesn't work, and I'm using it. But as an adult gamer, like wow, like I play in Joe the Lawyer's AD&D 2e game, and he billed it as AD&D by the book. Awesome. First session, the house rules were 12 pages long. Here we are, nearly a year into the campaign. It's 24 pages of house rules.
Yeah.
So, and do I agree with all of them? No. But as a player, you have to say, all right, these are the rules we're playing under. I don't like the penalty for being a demi-human to my experience points earnings, which Joe does. I don't like it, but I accept it because it's part of his house rules. So you live with it or you don't play in the game, right? You can't pick and choose which house rules you're going to agree with.
No. Yeah, you can't. Well, let me ask you guys a question. And Tom is to my upper right, the camera's upper left, but start with you, Tom. What are a couple of your house rules with Dungeons & Dragons? Regardless of the edition, what are some of your top house rules?
Well, I've played mostly BX, in recent memory. And I kind of just like BX as it is. I can't think of anything in there that really offends me. I mean,
well, to clarify, when I say house rules, it doesn't necessarily have to be a rule of the game. Like house rules to me also encompass maybe you have a table policy. Maybe you have a policy on what people can do, what they can't do, what they can bring or whatnot. That I think I call that house rules also. So,
well, if anybody wants to bring something to the game, like one time in it was a play-by-post Star Frontiers game, one guy wanted his character to have a pry bar. It's not in the game.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, sure. You can add a pry bar to your toolkit. No big deal. And, later in the adventure, he was already planning how he was going to use that pry bar. And so he was like his go-to tool. I take out my pry bar and which I'm okay with a lot of that. Even if somebody went and found something unique in a Dragon magazine or in the Star Frontiers fanzine and said, I want to have this for my character. If it's cool and unique, I'm really okay with that. I don't mind because this is about having fun. And if that player wants that, they want to have that because they think it's fun. And so I'm kind of like, yeah, sure.
Well, it's also it's the challenge of, as the DM, and this is what I like as a DM, I like it when players really do oddball stuff and they throw a curve at me that makes me have to think on my feet and do some changing and modifications of something I'm not anticipating. Yeah. I love that.
What is the saying? No adventure survives contact with the player characters.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you don't know because the player character is the big unknown. It ain't the dungeon. It ain't the module. It's the players. So what about you, Eric? What are a few of yours?
Well, I am not a killer DM, but I don't like to. I don't like to be put in a position where I have to save a player. I won't do that. So I prefer my PCs all start out with maximum hit points at first level. Occasionally, I crib rules from Joe the Lawyer, where if you roll your hit dice, it's like Tom's whispering in your ear. It's kind of cute. If you're rolling the hit dice at a new level and you roll poorly, like a fighter rolls 2 out of a D10, you can roll the next die lower, so you can roll a D8, and then you can roll a D6 if you keep on sucking until you get to the point where you're going to suck anyway. But I kind of like that. I sometimes throw that in. Oh, believe me.
It depends on the situation, Eric.
Yeah, I know. And like PC death. I do level plus hit points as a negative level plus hit point adjustment. Like if you have a high con, you get plus 2 for high con, and you're level 2. You can survive to -4, but you're bleeding out 1 point per round. So that means the body's got to get you. So I mean those things. I've played many different iterations of D&D and OSR games. Every OSR rule set is essentially its own house rules, right? Mm-hmm. So I've gotten to the point now where I go, I like these rules, but I like this rule from this game and this rule from that game. It's like that when you used to go to, I remember when I was a kid, we had a Chinese food restaurant, and you could pick from the menu. I want one from column A, one from column B, and one from column C. You kind of would do that. I do that now with my OSR. When I run OSR, if I'm saying I'm running Swords and Wizardry, I'm probably running Swords and Wizardry with a rule take from Dragon Slayer or something. Just take it from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Whatever makes me feel as a GM, this is what I want to run. I think that's it's important not to throw your players off, by the way. Don't surprise them. Go, oh, I didn't mention this rule. No. If you're going to change rules, always let them know session 0. The session 0 is character generation and all the other stuff. Session 0 is where you let them know, hey, I allow you to swap in healing. You don't have to memorize Cure Light Wounds. You can always just swap it in for another first level clerical spell that you know. So you're not just a heal bot. If you're doing something like that, let the players know. Don't just go, oh, I learned that because an NPC was doing it. Now, let them know from the start.
Yeah. Let me, Eric reminded me of a house rule that I like to use. I actually like to allow the players to just have max hit points at first level. I mean, let's face it, a first level magic user in 1E or BX, pretty fragile as they are, I just take max, and that's a house rule I've used quite a bit.
Yeah. See, I break it down though in a couple different areas. Like with me, with my house rules, I have in the way of session 0 or whatnot for starting. What I do is all players start off with max hit points automatically for first level. That's a given for me. I give them what I call a free 18. They get 18. They can choose any ability score. They can make it 18. And then what I go ahead and do is what I like to do when it comes to actually the generation of the ability scores and such is, along with that 18 that they get, is I always give them a choice that you can either have another 18 or a guaranteed 2 more at 15. It's their choice. Because I think, ability scores I'm not too paranoid about when it comes to players, no matter what class they're taking, because, what's wrong with giving a player kind of like a little boost at the beginning? Even though it's going to carry through with them, it helps the game along and it makes the game more enjoyable. Because let me tell you something, my old friend, he passed away years ago, but a guy by the name of Josh, you talk about a guy that if you let him roll a 6-sided dice 6 times, he'd roll a 1 or a 2 every single time. That guy just had suck luck.
That's Tim Shorts, and I've used something similar to yours, by the way. If I'm running your rule of the order giving away a high score, like Swords and Wizardry Light, if you're playing a human class, if you're playing a human race, which means you're not getting all the bonuses that the demi-humans get, take your lowest score to 15. Because in Swords and Wizardry Light, 15, 18, it's all the same. It's plus 1. But if I'm running like OSE or Shadow Dark, my unofficial house rule, which I pretty much always run with, is add up your bonuses. If your bonuses don't add up to at least plus 2, you can re-roll the character. Your character should be exceptional. I don't want a PC that has like, unless you want to run it, like maybe you got plus 4 bonus to your strength and you got like -2 across the board everywhere else.
Yeah.
If you want to run with that, that's fine, but you shouldn't have to, because if the character is that defective, they'd never be adventuring in the first place. So I always feel that adventurers should be above average, and I figure play. You can still have minuses. I know players that get all upset. Oh man, I got a penalty to my dex. I'm like, dude, you got 18 strength and you got a 17 con. I think you're fine. I think you'll handle it okay. But I usually, if it's a game where bonuses matter, I like to see my players have a plus. They should be better than average. If they're average, they're not adventuring. Yeah. If they're average, they're serving drinks. They're the banker. Mm-hmm. They are the innkeeper. They are the smith. It's the above average that goes out in adventures. So.
Yeah, because I just think that nobody. The idea behind it is you want players to have fun.
Right.
And, although I'm not a fan of 5e because I don't like power gaming. I don't like the ability, a third level character is equal to a 7th or 8th, in 5th level for D&D, for AD&D. I don't like these power gamers, these really crazy, classes and races that they have now. But I also know that a player who is constantly on the verge of death, who just sucky ass across the board, they're not going to have fun. If they're not going to have fun, they're probably not going to continue to play the game too long. So I want my players to be able to engage the game, but also I have other house rules on the other side. Like I allow a thing I call it a mulligan, and what I allow is each game session, each player can change one dice roll. So if they fail a save versus poison, they can redo it. They can do it, but it's one time per player per game session, And then another what I like to do about house rules is and this is something that I didn't like about AD&D when you got into AD&D really heavily, and that is I don't like the rules in AD&D on surprise. I don't care for them at all about it. Because to me, surprise in AD&D is just too black and white. I mean, you can get technical and complicated with it, but I just think that the idea of, you're standing in a 40 by 40 foot room, and you can be surprised because, and you're standing in the middle of it, somebody can walk through the door 20 feet away in a well lit 40 by 40 foot room, and they can surprise you because of a dice roll. I could see barging through the door and you're startled, you turn around, and you might take something, but the way it's written, if we're in a 40 by 40 foot room and I'm on the other side of the room, Tom can surprise me at the other end of the room and gain initiative and gain an attack on me, and I just don't like that.
Well, that would be a case of where you would house roll.
Yeah, that's exactly the whole purpose of it. So you do a house roll.
Think these things sometimes get written and they're not adequately tested. We thought it was a good idea at the time. I'll give you another example. In Star Frontiers, if you're doing unarmed combat and you've got, the unarmed combat skill, you've got a greater chance at knocking somebody out. Well, if you knock somebody out, you roll D100, and whatever you get is how many rounds they're unconscious.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Well, I mean, that could be like 80 or 90 rounds of unconsciousness, and same for some of the stun effects. It's roll D100, and that's how long they've been stunned. I think that's an obnoxiously long amount of time. I've never changed it, but I've always thought that's pretty. It's pretty long. I mean, if you're knocked unconscious, you're knocked unconscious for the rest of the combat. And generally it's the players doing that because somebody is specialized as a martial arts specialist to get that increased knockout range that everybody else only does on a 1, 2, or 3 on a D100.
Well, you talk about that. Talk about major rule house rules. I rewrote, in AD&D, 0, you're unconscious, -10, you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
Hit points. I don't do that because fundamentally the idea behind that never made sense to me. I understand being unconscious, and unless someone's doing life-saving measures, you're going to eventually die, you're going to bleed out or something like that. But instead what I do is I have at 0 life points, you're unconscious. Okay? Now, at -10, you die. Yes. But how I change it is unless someone is actively trying to heal you, like you got a player saying, I'm bandaging their wounds, I'm lifting their feet up, something, whatever. I mean, to try to actively save that person's life, what I do instead is this, is at -1, you lose 1 hit point permanently. -2, you lose 2 more. -3, you lose 3 more permanently. And it's a progressive negative. So if I get down to -7 hit points and Tom finally casts a healing spell on me and brings me back, I've lost those hit points permanently because it's permanent damage. I mean, it's sort of like going, you took an arrow to your spleen. I mean, yeah, I can probably maybe live through it, but I'm going to have issues afterwards. Well, I don't want to overcomplicate the game by going, okay, Eric, you're a diabetic now because your pancreas was injured. So it's just easier to say, no, you're going to go ahead and you're going to, these hit points that you now start losing are lost. They're gone forever. Now, that may not work for you guys, but that's just something that I do.
No, I got you. Like I said, your players have to buy in on the house rules. I mean, as long as they know them up front, I mean, if you sprung it on me like 3 sessions in, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm unconscious, no big deal. Oh no, dude, you went down to -2. Those points are lost forever. I go, what?
Well, because what that does is that smacks of retaliation, that smacks of pulling it out your ass, and especially if that happened, if let's say we got an argument at the table, and then I bring this weird house rule in. You're going to go, oh, you're doing that on purpose because you didn't like me disagreeing with you, oh, Lord Dungeon Master. One of those things. Because I know Dungeon Masters that do that. I mean, I know a lot of petty people that play D&D with me where it's a contest to them. And I don't think it is a contest as a DM. I want Tom and Eric, if I'm a DM, I want your characters to outthink me and outsmart me. I love it when they do that.
I love when the players totally destroy my adventure.
Yeah.
It's
fun.
And my favorite moment was this guy named Fred. They had split the party and he'd gone and investigated something. And he got up on the roof of his patrol car with his laser rifle and took one carefully aimed shot, rolled and hit, and then rolled the maximum on the damage table against this air car that, and the result came out crash and burn. And I was like, it's just absolutely no way, but it's just this one lucky roll, and then it proceeded to cause all this joking about how he shot the air car out of the sky and it crashed on a school field trip of 6th graders. It was just, and it's just that the game erupted in absolute fun and
real quick disclaimer.
Yeah.
Tom, for the viewers that might be sensitive to this, it's a joke, people, before you start lambasting my video, okay? It's a joke. It's a ha-ha. It's called humor.
Yeah, there weren't any 6th graders.
The joke part, yes.
But, I mean, it just absolutely was fun. We were laughing, and it was just so much fun. And him doing that completely destroyed my adventure at that point. And I was okay with that because it was fun. I enjoyed it, and clearly the players enjoyed it. And to me, that was the whole point.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you guys a question. We talked about the house rules that we like and use. Has anybody ever had a house rule that you've engaged in that you absolutely did not like, and why?
Ooh.
Anybody?
Trying to join another game, and it was 1st edition D&D, and they had no, it was 3.5, and and so I'm the new guy to the game, but all these other players have these established characters who are like 7th, 8th, and 9th, and I got to start with a 1st level character and join a party of high level characters. I thought,
that's imbalanced as hell, man.
I thought that was dumb, and then there was other weirdness, and I was like, yeah, I'm out. Stick a fork in me. I'm done. So I never played in that group. I just kind of dropped out halfway through that first session.
I've had house rules that again, like Joe's house rules that penalize demi-humans. My gnome is suffering. But I don't, you know, I go into a game as a player knowing what the house rules are.
Yes.
All right, so by default, if I'm playing in a game, I accept them. I don't have to like them. Right? That's the whole thing. You don't have to like every rule for it to be used. There are rules in games where I kind of go, but if you remove that rule and the whole thing falls apart, then you just, leave it. In this case, Joe could change the rule to not having a penalty. He happens to like the idea that demi-humans get extra bonuses and therefore get a penalty.
I think he pulls that from Tolkien.
Well,
demi-humans are superior. They're superior in many ways. I wonder if he's a big Tolkien fan.
Joe is definitely a Tolkien fan, so yeah. So
his analytical way he thinks, I bet.
Oh God, yeah. So again, 24 pages of house rules for a game that's by the book.
I'd hate to see him heavily modify his game.
I know. We tell him he should just put this together as his own rule set. He's like, there's too much work.
I showed Tom the other night my AD&D modified manual. Tom, literally, it's that thick.
A binder.
It's just, yeah. But you're talking about, God, now 47 years playing D&D. Holy shit, I'm getting old.
Yeah. No,
40 years playing Star Frontiers.
Wow. God.
Yeah.
We're old guys. All of us are, 56 now?
Oh, damn. Yeah.
Not me. I've been 49 for 7 years straight.
Okay, there you go.
That only applies to the women, okay? My wife just had last year her 21st birthday.
Oh, she can legally drink now. That's awesome.
Yes.
She's breaking the law.
Rocking the cradle a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but God. I just think that, and this is something I would love to. I think I'm gonna talk to Tim. I got to talk to Tim Monday. I'm gonna ask Tim about this. Is the whole weapon speed theme intrigues me, and what's his opinion on some of these house rules and such? Because I know that Tim told me like early on, even Tim, who made the rule, because it was such a loose band back then. I mean, it was like, here's a piece of paper. On Gary's desk, Tim would say, and it would be, changes, modifications. Who did that?
Oh.
Well,
I mean, last night in Erik's video about Arduin, Arduin, that guy was using crits and fumbles all the way back in the 70s. Now they're commonplace, and I remember finding Rollmaster and
oh God, yeah,
those tables upon tables of all these weird crits and fumbles, and the Middle Earth role playing had a lighter version of the Rollmaster fumbles and crits, which were just so fun to read because if you critted bad enough, you'd completely cave in somebody's chest, and
66 was the number to roll on for Rollmaster Critical. It's always the most fun.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something major that I did in my game very early on, even as a kid. And I'm not talking about as, an adult. I'm talking about when I was like 14 or so, 15 in that area, was alignment. To me, alignment never made sense. I never have liked alignment. I think it's overcomplicated. It's strange. So what I did and I'll give credit to where credit's due. Again, 56-year-old brain. I can't remember what I had for dinner yesterday, but I can remember what happened back then. And that is my friend Lance. His name was Lance McGraw. And what we did is we removed alignment and we added quirks. We called them character flaws back then. They were character flaws. And it was at that time, it was like a D12 table of just like, instead of being lawful good or neutral or chaotic good or chaotic evil, you got the roll for a quirk. And they were everything. I still use it like in open worlds today and in my own D&D games. And that is like, it could be something as you're afraid of things with more than two legs, bugs. You're afraid of spiders, or, you're afraid of the dark, but also I have the modifications to that. So since you're afraid of the dark, what you do is at night, unless it's in a well-lit area, you have a -1 to defense because you're just shaking and you're scared.
Right.
And so I think quirks are a great thing to add and remove alignment. Now, I don't know about you guys, what you guys' opinion on alignment is, because I know people that just swear by it.
Depends on the game. Depends on the campaign I'm running.
I like a 3-point alignment system.
Yeah, I would go with 3-point over. Like Source of Wizardry Light doesn't have alignment because I don't have enough room in 4 pages. But I like a simplified alignment. When I tried to enforce alignment back in my teenage years, we got into fights at the table. What do you mean I'm not playing a good character?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, geez.
Well, that was the reason why I got rid of alignment, because it was just one of those things where people go, I'm playing my alignment. No, you're a chaotic, evil character. I'm playing it the way I would play it if I was chaotic evil. It's just that type of It's that type of arguments, because how do you really define it? You know.
Well, I think the fastest thing I cut with alignment was alignment languages.
Yes.
Gone.
Yeah.
I hated that.
Because to me, just alignment is one of the, just my opinion again for you guys and the viewers. If you take a look at Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, or even D&D in general, and you want me to name my top 3 biggest flaws with the game, alignment will be in the top 3, probably in the top 2 even. Yeah. To me, it's just because there's too much room. There's too much room for arguing and fighting. I
think alignment was more about simulating a moral code, because the paladin is supposed to be lawful good.
Yes.
Not going to torture or assassinate a captured prisoner. It was about moral code, and I'm okay with having a moral code, but I think real world paladins weren't all that good. The Knights Templar and Knights whatever, I think they were.
Because also keep in mind one thing, and you bring up Knights Templars is a good point, but like I had a friend one time said, the argument that she used was, if you take a look at Adolf Hitler as an example, everybody will agree he's evil. He's vile.
Sure.
Even chaotic evil towards the end, the way he acted and did. But the problem is this. He treated children of his friends wonderfully. He loved dogs. He treated his dog until the very end when he killed the damn thing, but he loved his dogs. So even though he was this evil, vile human being responsible for murdering millions of people, he still had good moments within him, and that's the flaw of alignment.
Well, evil doesn't see itself as evil. All right?
That's right. But we bring up the Knights Templar. If you ask 10 people in a room who know a little bit about religion and history, and you say, okay, were the Knights Templar doers of good or bad? And you're going to have people going, no, they were knights. They were doing God's work. They battled for Christianity. And then you're going to have people also going, no, they were the most vile, evil, mean. They murdered people. Right. So that's the problem with alignment to me. I'm not trying to get a moral discussion. I'm just talking about, in general, that's my issue with alignment, is it's too much. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make something black and white, like chaotic good, chaotic evil, paladins, and it's hard, I think, to really nail it down, because even a paladin can do bad things when necessary. How's the balance going? So it's very difficult, I think, to enforce.
Yeah. Not
saying that quirk's the answer. I'm just saying that in general, alignment, that was one of the house rules that I kind of got rid of. But so. Yeah, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent, but that's the big thing with me, is alignment is a huge one, just because it's so encompassing and everything.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But we've been at this for 34 minutes, gentlemen.
Holy crap. Time flies.
I didn't mean to, like I said, time flies when you're talking with a good-looking guy like me, right?
Oh, and the hot eclipse.
Yeah, I think Tammy might disagree with you. I'm the good-looking guy.
I'm not getting into this argument here. I'm not going to go there.
I think our wives are all, a little bit, got their opinions. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're all kind of,
Yeah.
But,
that's why they're our wives.
Yeah. But that's a big thing I wanted to talk about a little bit about house rules and everything. I mean, we could probably go down this rabbit hole and spend 4 hours and not, dig into it as deep as I could probably dig into it. But I know it's Saturday night. Erik, you've got your Gamer's Health tonight. What's tonight's subject, by the way?
Tonight's subject, we're going to be I'm looking at my other screen to make sure I get this right. Dealing with death in your social media communities.
Oh,
gotcha. Good topic. A little bit timely, too.
I got 3,500 friends on Facebook alone, and every time I open up Facebook, people are dying. People are getting really bad diagnoses, illnesses. And listen, our parents didn't have communities of 3,500 where they communicated with 3,500 people. So we're going to be talking about that.
And sadly,
Aunt Bessie. Did you hear about Aunt Bessie?
Right. Fugly, one of the members of the tavern, one of the artists that does a lot of stuff, his wife passed overnight or early this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We lost Jim Ward. All these people that, technology.
Like Tim said.
What's up?
Tim said it when I was talking to him on the phone the other day. It was like, every Gary Con, it seems, every year we're losing more and more. And, even Tim admitted, he goes, there ain't too many of us around anymore from the original crew. I mean, I think right now you've got Tim. I mean, if you go back to the originals, you got Tim. I think Frank Metzer might be able to be pulled into that because Frank joined in late 70s, 79, something like that.
Darlene.
You got Darlene. So you got Tim Cass, Darlene, Frank Metzer.
I'm not sure when.
And then you got the artists. You got Diesel. You got Elmore. You've got Easley. Leeson.
Mm-hmm.
The
numbers are getting short.
Yeah, they're definitely dwindling, and I hope that at least what's that?
I just saw on Facebook that the last survivor of the Arizona passed away at 100.
Yeah.
That was a couple days ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean,
the last one, wasn't he the last one from Pearl Harbor, or was it just the Arizona?
No, there's still some from Pearl Harbor, but he was the last from the Arizona.
Wow.
So it's happening, guys.
Yeah.
Heck, look at us. We're 56, man. I mean, I'd like to tell my wife, talking the other day, I was like, Tina, I'd like to be able to enjoy, the remaining time I have left, be able to enjoy it with my, wife and family, with all the drama and everything, and, I wish other people, would look at their lives and think about the drama that they cause, and life's too short.
No, definitely.
So, all right. Well, guys, thank you for tuning into my video, or not tuning into my video. Thank you for taking
Thank you for inviting me. It was a topic that I'm passionate about. No, really, I wanted to touch on this one. So it was
pleasure to be here.
Yes.
So, everybody, thank you for tuning into my video. Also, this is Don, Tom, and Erik. Tune in to Erik's every Saturday night. Erik does Gamer's Health. Him and his beautiful wife, Rach, go ahead and they talk about topics that deal with gaming. Erik has a Wednesday night live stream and also a Friday night live stream. Yep. And Tom is now going to be, I think, fairly regularly going to start joining me on my Tuesday night lives like we did last week. Right. We had a good turnout to that. Erik, and of course, as always, you are more than welcome anytime you wish to take part in that if there's a subject that intrigues you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Gentlemen, thank you for coming on. Everybody else, this is Don from Wizard Tower Games. Hope everybody has a good weekend. Stay safe, and I will talk to you guys later.
Later, folks.